Let's talk some NBA playoffs. Let's talk some actual competent basketball teams and organizations. So, first of all, we have a couple of playing games tonight. You got the Kings and the Warriors later tonight. That's an elimination game. Winner goes in as the either the 9 or the 10 seed. And then the I'm sorry, I'm just getting so distracted. The Lakers Pelicans, the winner goes on to be the 7th seed, while the loser goes on to play the 9/10 seed, depending on whoever. Or I guess it would be whoever won that. Yeah, whoever won that game against Sacramento. So then they would play, and then that would go for who would play the 1 seed. But looking at all these teams, so let's start. I guess we'll just go down the line here. And I'll try my best. Okay, again, I didn't really watch a whole lot of NBA stuff because the Pistons stunk. So anytime they were on, they were losing. I didn't really get a good view of other teams. And everything else is like whatever I kind of caught. So I'll run down. I don't think I'll give every single team, but I'll look at some teams that I feel decently good about. First of all, the Celtics. They are far and away the best team in basketball in terms of record. I mean, even just looking at the win-loss record here, the closest team in the Eastern Conference to them is the New York Knicks at 50-32. The Boston Celtics are 64-18. They are a team on a mission. Like, they got embarrassed in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, losing to the Miami Heat, who are, again, a play-in team. So I'm terrified of them as well. But they're a team on a mission. Obviously, a couple of years ago, they lose to the Golden State Warriors, and in a series that they definitely could have taken hold of. It'd be hard for me to say that they're not probably the favorite right now, but then I look at, Denver Nuggets. I mean, obviously, reigning champions. Nikola Jokic is an animal. All he does is just be large and get a lot of points. But then another team that I just really love is the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, like, first of all, what a great story for them. Like, you have oh sweet. It looks like Philly just took a 1-0. No goal. Dang it. Still no score. Never mind. Anyway, I mean, the Thunder, like, you look at, like, just a few years ago, I don't want to talk too much about the Pistons. You look at where the Thunder were a couple of years ago, they were a lottery team. I believe they were a lottery team last year. And this year, they're the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. Obviously, that's a franchise that hasn't won since they were in Seattle, since they were the Supersonics. So that's definitely a team I'll be rooting for. Another team I'll be rooting for. One moment. Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota, that's another team that I think is kind of on a mission. I mean, like, a couple of years ago, obviously they had that win in the first round, and everybody was going crazy. It was insane celebrations, and then they get eliminated, and people kind of forget about them. And then last year they lose in the play-in to, I believe it was Denver, or not in the play-in, they lose in the first round. I think they were a play-in team, but they lost in the first round to the Denver Nuggets, who would go on to win the championship. I don't know if Karl Anthony Towns is back at this point. I think he is. But Anthony Edwards, I mean, like, he's absolutely as advertised. And you got to think he was drafted just 4 years ago in the same draft as Killian Hayes. Obviously, the Pistons lose that lottery, of course. You got to wonder where the Pistons would be at if they had won that lottery. If they had won Anthony Edwards, and then assuming everything else goes the same way. So they win Anthony Edwards, and they also win Cade Cunningham. So you have Cade Cunningham, you have Anthony Edwards, and then Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, and then I guess Asar Thompson. You got to wonder how much of a dynamic change that would be, if at all. I don't know. I mean, Anthony Edwards clearly is a generational player. Clearly, a superstar of this league. And I think he's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And they're going up against the Phoenix Suns, a team that I remember saying at the beginning of the year, I didn't really trust what they were doing. They're a 6 seed, so they make the playoffs, but I don't trust a team with Kevin Durant driving the bus. I don't do it, because he's proven time and time again that outside of his stint at the Golden State Warriors, he can't help a team win. He certainly can't do it by himself. And nobody can do it by themselves. That's a bit of a misnomer. But It's like ever since he left the Warriors, he's been on this mission to prove his legacy, and he has failed every single place he's gone. Failed with the Brooklyn Nets. He's probably going to fail with the Phoenix Suns. I remember when they got him, and everyone was, oh my gosh, the Suns, they're going to totally win now. They got Chris Paul. They got Kevin Durant. They got Devin Booker. And I was like, I know this isn't going to work. You got Chris Paul, who chokes in the playoffs. You got Kevin Durant, who chokes in the playoffs, and you got Devin Booker, who chokes. You got the three musketeers of choking in the playoffs, and it's the Phoenix Suns, a team that is infamous for losing in the playoffs. Like, I don't know. I have no trust in them. But also, Seth is not here, but I will talk about his Milwaukee Bucks. So they are technically stingy to play the Indiana Pacers. But the thing about it is they don't actually include the fact that because they're coached by Doc Rivers, they will lose at some point in the playoffs in embarrassing fashion. So I don't really know why they include them. Yeah, I mean, look, Doc, haven't won since you won with the Celtics on a team that I could have coached, right? Every single time you find an embarrassing way to lose. He's the Mike Babcock of the NBA. He's this coach who was carried by a superstar team. Funny enough, in 2008, both times. And he just can't win outside of it. He has no ability to coach. No ability. Like, I really don't know how he keeps getting jobs. Like, he just consistently fails, despite the fact that a lot of the teams that he has coached are loaded, right? With superstar. Like this team, Dame, Chris Middleton, Giannis, Giannis, obviously, although he's not going to be playing in game one, due to injury. So it's not looking good for the Bucks. I mean, poor Seth. Hopefully this time his team can escape the first round and not get eliminated. At least this time they're not playing a play-in team, so they don't have the embarrassment of potentially losing that. But I mentioned it earlier, the Miami Heat. Okay, look, obviously the reigning Eastern Conference champions. They're in the play-in again, and I don't bet against Jimmy Butler. I don't. I'm done with it. Philadelphia, I don't care. You stink. I hate Philadelphia. The 76ers they're just awful. I know Joel Embiid got hurt, but I don't like them at all. They're like the antithesis of everything I like in basketball. But another team that's a lot of fun, the Orlando Magic. Hey, the 5th seed. That's another team. Just a couple of years ago was in the lottery with us. Just a couple of years ago, they won the number one overall pick. They got Paolo Banchero. 2 years later, they're in the playoffs as a 5th seed. And they definitely got a shot against the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's going to be an interesting series. Donovan Mitchell, Spida, and that's his nickname, right? Evan Mobley as well on that Cavs team. See, it's like, I look at this, and it's like, oh, yeah, they were a lottery team. The Cavs were a lottery team. Magic were a lottery team. Pacers were a lottery team. Oklahoma City was a lottery team. Minnesota was a lottery team. The Kings, I believe, were a lottery team. Like all of these teams were lottery teams in the same span that the Pistons were a lottery team. And all of them are in the playoffs or in the play-in. Or I guess it's all the playoffs as far as I'm concerned. All of them are in the playoffs. And then the Pistons are worse than where they were. Somehow. In miraculous fashion. They've managed to get worse from already being bottom third in the league. But with all that, I'm really looking forward to these playoffs. I think it's going to be another great year of NBA playoffs. That's the best part of the NBA season for me, especially as a Pistons fan, because I don't really get to enjoy fun basketball. It's when players really try. Is the NBA playoffs? It's similar to the NHL in that I really get into it once it's the playoffs, but NHL playoffs are better than the NBA playoffs in my opinion. But really looking forward to these playoffs. Hey there, what you just watched was actually a clip from a larger show that we do every Tuesday night. What are you doing Tuesday night? Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the like button so that you don't miss out on any more of our weekly shows every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see you there.